Christmas and welcome to the last episode of the Refined Savage podcast before the holidays. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Let's talk about Viking Coffee. Viking Coffee, my brother, Evan Armstrong, I couldn't be happier with the relationship we've had with Viking Coffee over the years. I met Evan through the podcast. Looked like an interesting guy. We had talked a little bit, and I invited him out to come on the show. Ended up being a really interesting guy and became a really good friend of mine. The coffee is out of this world. Evan is an absolute artist. We came up with the Refined Savage Viking Coffee conglomerate here and made Old Man Strength Brew Coffee. I'm so very proud of that. I had very little to do with it other than Aaron and I and another guy from the gym here, Aaron Varga, helped pick out the actual flavor. Evan does all the work with that. So for you people who ask me about the coffee business and what it takes and how you do things, I have no idea. Get a hold of Evan if you have questions on that. I simply picked out the coffee and lent my name to it. And it's my favorite, but he's got several other brands and brews available, as well as some really cool gear, shirts and hats and mugs, all very awesome stuff. I've got a mug right here filled with Viking coffee that he just sent me, and it's the Holiday Blend coffee, which I am now a big fan of. So give him a holler, vikingcoffeeco.com. Use the code VikingCoffee10 at checkout for 10% off. Cerberus Strength. We got hooked up with Cerberus Strength this year. Could not be happier with them as well. Ken at Cerberus Strength is one of us, guys. He's a Highland Games athlete. He's a strong man. He's got his finger on the pulse of everything strength related. Good, just a good dude, man. He supports the show, and he's a big lover of strength sports. And these are the kind of sponsors you want with the show. I don't want sponsors for the show who aren't passionate about what they do, and he certainly is. Cerberus Strength, you'll see their gear on athletes all over the world at strongman competitions, at Highland Games competitions, at powerlifting competitions. He sponsors some incredible athlete. He spreads the wealth out and takes care of his people. So thank you, Ken at Cerberus Strength. Give them a holler. They've got everything you need. Wraps, straps, belts. They're really cool belts. I posted a picture on my Instagram page a few days back. The belt is just perfect for Olympic lifting or strongman or functional fitness people. It's comfortable yet very supportive. So give him a holler, cerberus-strength.us. Use the code REFINEDSAVAGE10 at checkout for 10% off. Big thank you and shout out to Nancy at Warrior CBD. Warrior CBD, just a great company. We clicked immediately. I love their products. It is the number one thing. You will find CBD out there that just is garbage. It just will not work. The good thing about Warrior CBD is that I've actually seen results, and I'm a high dosage kind of guy, man. If the bottle says to take 2 pills, I take 4, and Warrior CBD, I never had that issue. What she told me to take, I took, and it worked. They have great products. I love their sublingual drops before bedtime. They have muscle rubs, roll-on muscle rubs, which are fantastic for those aches and pains. They also have CBD for your dog, so if you have a crazy dog. You guys have heard me talk about all this stuff before. You have a crazy dog who's afraid of fireworks or something, you can give him that CBD and it calms him down, and you don't have to worry about having an all drugged up dog, and great stuff. So give them a shout, warriorcbdofficial.com. Use the code WARRIOR20 off at checkout. When Chad Clark got me hooked up with Serious Steel, I'm actually wearing a Serious Steel t-shirt right now, but when he got me hooked up with these guys from Serious Steel and started emailing the owners, I just was very happy with basically the way I was treated. These guys are, again, just like Ken at Cerberus, they're just lovers of all things strength related, and they just are out there grinding and hustling and putting out some of the best products on the market for very low prices. I don't know why anyone would go to a different company. I always check Serious Steel first to see if they have what I need before I go anywhere else. And this was even before they were a sponsor. They just fit really well with our program. I think you guys should give them a holler. They have everything. My favorite product they have are the Atlas Stone gauntlets, especially for like the women in the gym who don't want to walk around with. I make shitty stones, so some of the stones we have in the gym are not great. Some of them that other people have made are fantastic, but like the ones I make will chew up your arms. And some of these, especially the women, don't want to walk around with big stone hickeys all over their arms. So I love the stone gauntlets, but they also have tacky, they have smelling salts, they have t-shirts, they have belts, they have wraps, they have straps, anything you need. Give them a holler. SeriousSteel.com. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout for 10% off. One of my favorite things this year was getting in touch with Stay Classy Meats. We had talked when we were starting this thing about how sponsorship would go, and they offered to start sending me boxes of meat, which has been the best thing. When they offered that, I jumped on it because it's just you don't know until you try, right? So many of you out there listening going, oh yeah, well I get my meat at Giant Eagle and it tastes just fine. And it does, whatever. But when you get a box from Stay Classy Meats, the meat, the taste of the meat is different. I'm telling you, I don't understand it. I don't understand biology. I guarantee it has something to do with the way these animals are raised. Small batch farms, Bozeman, Montana area, they're living right. They're eating fresh grasses. They're drinking from fresh streams. They're not being injected with hormones. They're being humanely treated. They're being humanely processed. It's just amazing food. And people think oh, it's expensive. It's not. When you look at it, you're buying bulk meat. I get a box sent to my home every month or so with 35 pounds of meat. It's the best meat you could possibly ask for. Bison and ribeyes and bacon and chicken and pork, and it's the most amazing stuff. I'm so happy with this sponsorship, and Scott at Stay Classy Meats has been a big help. You guys got to check these guys out. Get a box. Try the new year out. Start the new year out right. For you carnivores or omnivores out there, this is the company to go to. This is the way to get your meat. If you're not hunting your own meat, this is the way to go. So give them a holler. StayClassyMeats.com. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout for 10% off. Eric and his family had Iron and Stone Strength up in the Buffalo, New York area. Again, a family that is just neck deep in strength athletics. Eric is the real deal, man. He's a lover of all things strength. His apparel line is fantastic. I'm telling you, the shirts are super comfy and look cool. Not any crazy weird logos on them. Just stuff you would be okay to wear out in public and be proud of, and not feel like you're some kind of weirdo meathead. Highly recommend his apparel line. And if you're in the area, go check out his gym. Check him out, ironandstonestrength.com. Use the code REFINEDSAVAGE at checkout. Thank you, Eric and your family. Great humans. Give them a shout. 2 new sponsors this year, Impact Mouth Guards. Frank at Impact Mouth Guards. We got to talking, and with our listenership starting to evolve a little bit, we're getting more jiu-jitsu, judo, grappling, wrestling people on the show and in the audience. We thought this would be a good fit. But you guys out there who are wearing mouth guards for strongman, for powerlifting, anytime you're in the gym, you're protecting those choppers. Frank is fanatical about making sure the mouth guards are correct. You're not getting a good mouth guard if you go to Target and buy a mouth guard, okay? He's going to fit these mouth guards perfectly to your mouth with their system. They're not very expensive. They're going to protect your teeth. They're going to protect your jaw. They're going to protect you from concussions. If you're a teeth grinder at night when you're sleeping, he can help you out there. Football, lacrosse, wrestling, anything where you've got a contact sport and you need a mouth guard for, Impact mouth guards are the way to go. And you can get them decked out, really cool designs and personalized, and you just got to check out their site. Check them out on Instagram at Impact Mouthguards, or go to their website, impactmouthguards.com. Use the code REFINESAVAGE at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Impact Mouthguards. I appreciate you being on board. And finally today, the beard struggle. If you haven't checked out their Instagram page, you got to check it out. It's really funny stuff. You should be following them. If you have a big giant beard, which I do from time to time, right now I'm beardless, but you guys have all seen me before. It gets crazy. I know what it's like. I know, for lack of a better term, I know the struggle, You have this big giant beard. You're trying to keep it fresh looking. You want it to smell good. You want the lady in your life to want to come near you, and you got to have things to take care of that. So whether it's beard balm or beard oil or brushes or straighteners or anything you need for that crazy man beard, they've got it for you. Check them out at thebeardstruggle.com. Use the code REFINESAVAGE at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Beard Struggle, for being part of the Refined Savage family. I'm glad to have you aboard, and I hope to have a long, long relationship with you and all the sponsors. So thank you to the sponsors. I appreciate you supporting the show and working with me, and all you people out there. If you love the show, I will never and have never asked for a dime. I'm not a Patreon guy. I'm not a PayPal guy. If you love the show, if you want the show to continue and grow and get better and hear better guests, this is real simple stuff. I'm not asking you to give a dime to the show. But if you have, if you're looking to buy coffee, if you're looking to buy meat, if you're looking to buy products for your beard or equipment or CBD oil, go to the show sponsors, give them a shout. They're all fantastic people, and shoot a little money your way. Let's take care of each other this year, and instead of giving our money to people who could care less about us. So I appreciate you sponsors, and guys, give them a shout, okay? All right, so what I thought we would do today is do this final Christmas episode. This will come out Christmas Eve, so if you're all listening to this now, and you jumped right on it, it's Christmas Eve. Maybe you're traveling somewhere. Maybe you're already there, avoiding your relatives. But Christmas and a year in review show. Now, what we do every year is we take a 2-week break at Christmas, and you know what? That's to give me a little break. It's to give Zach Pape a little break, who is an incredible worker and works his butt off. I always say that, I talk into these microphones and they somehow just end up on the internet, and that's all thanks to Zach. I could not do this show without him. Running the gym would be a lot more difficult as well, because Zach is my right-hand man here and takes care of so many things, and we shoot ideas back and forth off each other for both the show and the gym. He is invaluable, and I really appreciate him. So we're going to give him a break and give me a break, and then we're going to come back. So this will be the last episode released on Christmas Eve. We will be back on January 7th. I don't know who the guest is. I do not remember, but I'm sure it'll be fantastic, and we'll go from there. So we're going to do a little bit before we get started with the year in review and everything. We had a couple questions from the internet. I posted a Instagram thing, and I got a couple responses of people wanting questions. So we're going to start with Jonathan. How has your age changed your training, if at all, and would there be any training you would have done less or more of based on the knowledge you have now? Jonathan is a kid at the gym, fantastic kid, a super hard worker, nice little family, love him to death. So my training now, we're going to get into it a little bit later, is completely different than when I was younger. When I was younger, it was 100% performance-based as far as throwing things far. I didn't care, obviously, for the people who saw me and knew me back then or see some of these Throwback Thursday pictures I post. I did not care about how I looked or how long I could go. My only goal was to throw things further. So my training was all based towards that. I started off with a lot of Judd Logan stuff out of Ashland, and then added in a lot of West Side stuff from Louie. Now that my now that I'm done throwing, and I am done throwing, people have asked me that question. I will not be back to throwing. It's just something my body is not capable of doing anymore, and my brain isn't capable of watching my numbers decrease. So I'm done with that. I'll move on. I'm not going to be one of these guys who clings to that for the rest of his life. I still love the throws. I love watching my son throw, which is my favorite thing now. But my training then kind of evolved into more of a bodybuilding, powerlifting style, strongman stuff. I was doing that for a long time, and now it's just becoming more fitness related. I want to look better. I want to live longer. I want to be able to do more things. So it's constantly evolving. The thing I would have done a lot more of when I was younger is, and we didn't really know anything about this, but I would have done more prehab, rehab stuff. I know there's a lot of poo-poo about that, but if I could have found things that would have kept me, so now that I don't have so many aches and pains and bumps and bruises, I'm pretty happy with the fact that I'm 46 years old and can still go. But I would have done a better job of taking care of my body, and now I hopefully wouldn't have to work around things as I do now. I just wouldn't have had so many issues. I did get through Highland Games with very little, if any, damage, and that was good. But I would have done more rehab, prehab stuff. Billy Baxter, do you track macros or calories on carnivore? He said he also loved the episode with Adrian Smith and thinking about going carnivore keto-ish. I don't. So I play with my diet all the time. I've been keto since 2012. So it was a 100% blood sugar issue that I switched over to. I kind of figured out that maybe my blood sugar issues were due to the fact that my body was producing a surplus of insulin and basically just depleting my body of sugar. Once I went keto, I started low carb, and that's a good point. So don't just jump into keto, okay? Start with low carb. Figure out how many carbs you're taking in a day and then drop it. So I think I started and I dropped immediately to 50 carbs a day. And then I dropped to 30. And then in typical Mark fashion, I dropped to try to get as close to 0 as possible. And then I started adding in a little bit more fats. For me personally, adding in fats is not necessary. I get fat from the meats and the eggs and stuff, but I don't add unnecessary fat in for no reason. But I don't track anything. I don't track macros. I eat when I'm hungry. Right now, I've kind of switched to this warrior diet. So it's still carnivore keto, but I only eat one meal a day. Eat that usually about I have a window, so you can eat for 4 hours, but I usually eat one big meal a day and maybe something else with it. And right now, I'm feeling really good on that. I think as humans, we walk around all day with a belly full of food, and your body's constantly trying to digest that food, and it takes away from other processes. And for the last week or so, I've been on this warrior diet, and I like the results of it. Now, that's not to say I'll never have lunch, but the more amount of days where I can just eat one big meal a day, I think I'm going to do well on that. So, and we'll see how it goes, and I'll let you know. I'll keep you guys updated on that, but it's still carnivore keto. The other thing, speaking of Adrian Smith, is when you eat your vegetables. So I will go back to eating vegetables, but I think, and I do now. So if I go out to a restaurant and there's asparagus on the plate, I eat it. That's very rare. We don't go out to eat that much. I prefer eating at home. But talking to Adrian and then watching some shows on documentaries on the Neanderthals and primitive man and how they ate, we would have been, as European people, tracking, and I'm sure there's a lot of non-European people, but I was a European. I had European ancestry. We would have been tracking herds across the tundra and surviving on meat for the majority of the year. Once spring and summer came, we would be eating things that are ripe and in season and blooming, and that's how Adrian suggests you take in vegetables, and that's how I'm going to do it this summer. So when things are in season, I'm going to try eating them and see how I feel. If I don't feel good, I'll get back off them, but that's my goal for this summer, is to eat more vegetables that are in season. Blake Severinson, best tools you have found to fight overuse, inflammation, and tendonitis. CBD oil, 100%. Warrior CBD, give them a shot. I'm not full of shit. I'm not giving you any kind of sales pitch with this one. I just like the CBD oil for inflammation. I'm in a constant state of tendonitis, but it works really well. I do hot showers. I do not do cold during the winter. I live in an ice box, and I'm not into that. During the summer, I will use cold showers. That seems to work pretty well too, but I will not do them during the winter. I'm just not that big of a masochist. Aaron Mayfield, carnivore as a viable diet or OMAD carnivore. I probably should know what that means, but I don't. Carnivore is a viable diet for some people. I like it. Works really well for me. I suggest you try it, man. Carnivore, omnivore, vegetarian, vegan, whatever. The biggest part about diet is finding something that you're going to stick with. Okay. And it takes discipline, guys. You have to figure out the thing that's going to be easiest for you to follow and most successful, and then stick to it. Don't worry about cheat days. Just get in there and start working, and don't get freaked out if you have one meal that's bad. You can always get right back on the wagon, and it's the accumulation of many, many meals. It's not going to be a fast process, but it will be a successful one if you just stick to it and have some discipline. That's the key, man. Discipline is the key. I just see too many people out there who give up too easily, or they give into their urges or cravings. And it's you. You have to actually go in the refrigerator, pick this crap food out, and put it in your face. I just can't see why you can't handle it. It's the same thing as smoking cigarettes. You are the one going to the store and buying these things and then smoking them. Nobody's putting a gun to your head. Be better humans. Be disciplined. Be tough. Deprive yourself a little bit. It's worthwhile. Live that Spartan samurai existence. Cast Iron off Instagram. Who is fatter at their fattest, Craig or KO? KO is and has always been the fattest. I gave him a run for his money, but he was fatter when we threw. He was much fatter than Craig. And now that we're all in shape, and well, at least me and Craig are in shape, Kerry is still the fattest, and he should really work on getting rid of some of that body fat and looking more svelte. I call him the world's worst bodybuilding coach because he's teaching these women, and he's pretty successful at teaching these women how to get in shape for bodybuilding competitions, but he himself is a big fat guy. So Hayden Valenti wanted to know my mile time. I don't know what my mile time is, you jerk. Somewhere under 8 is the best one I've ever run. So, Zach Riley, if you are Luke Duke and Kerry Overfelt is Bo Duke, who is Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane? That would 100% be Chafin, just a buffoon, a southern buffoon at that. And who is Uncle Jesse? That would be Craig, because Craig was always kind of the voice of reason in our group. So if you are a fan of the Dukes of Hazzard, there you go. And I think that was the last of our Q&A. If I missed one of your questions, just shoot it to me again. We'll get it on a future podcast. We were talking a little bit about diet. So 2019 started off with me deciding that I wanted to change up my diet. Mostly I was having digestive issues, and that was the main instigator for starting on this carnivore diet. I had obviously heard Dr. Sean Baker and Jordan Peterson talking about the carnivore diet. So I went on it and I gave it a try, and I started it the first of the year. And I knew that we had a trip to St. Petersburg, Florida coming up in April. And I said, well, I'm going to try this for a month and see what happens. Maybe it'll help my digestive issues. Maybe it will help with my body composition and just trying to get a little bit leaner. And lo and behold, after about a month, I was down like 15 pounds without really changing my workouts much up at that time. So I stayed on it. I said, well, I'm going to stay on it until our trip in April and see where we went. So I started out the new year at 257 pounds. When we got to middle of April, when we went to St. Petersburg, St. Pete's Beach, I was down to 215 pounds. So, and then, it wasn't just carnivore diet. I think that was a big help. And look, I never tell people they should go on the carnivore diet or keto because it's different for everybody. And I think I am fat adaptive. I think it's the way my body works better. I seem to run well. When I switched to keto originally, I never had keto flu. I immediately started feeling better. I just don't run on carbs and sugar well. I've never had any of the problems associated with, they suggest that you shouldn't go on keto if you're a strength athlete. I never had a problem with that. My strength levels were always high. I got into intermittent fasting 3 years ago. For most of this year until just a few weeks ago, I was doing a 16 to 18 hour fast per day. And I did the World Highland Games Championships in Iceland. I did Master Strongman Nationals. I did all those in a completely fasted state. I did Ohio's Strongest Man, completely fasted state. 24-hour fasts, in the middle, I didn't eat until well after the competition, and I did fine, and my strength levels were nice and high, and I think it's a lot of speculation, and everybody's different, so you can't make any of these sweeping generalizations about how keto or the carnivore diet will affect you. You just got to play with it and see how it works. Now, I don't suggest it to people only because I don't understand it. There isn't enough evidence to prove that it works. There's not enough evidence to prove that it won't be detrimental long term. I am going 100% on how I feel, how my body works, and how it reacts. For me, this is the way to go. So this is the what I do. And like I said, now I've changed to this warrior diet where I'm still going keto and carnivore, but I'm only eating one big meal a day. And it's a big meal. I mean, there's a lot of calories involved in it because it's going to keep me burning all day long. During the day, I eat nothing or I drink nothing but coffee, black coffee and water. So about March of last year, it was the last weekend of February, I got a hold of Paul Jordan. And I started talking to him about some of the training we were doing at the gym and how I thought it would be good for grapplers. He suggested I come out and try a jiu-jitsu class. So I did. He was on vacation at the time, wanted me to come out a week from the day I texted him. And knowing me, I knew that if I didn't come out immediately, I wouldn't come out at all. And that's one of the things with people who come into this gym is they'll shoot me a text and they'll say, hey, I want to start the program, but I want to start next Tuesday. 9 times out of 10, I'll never see them again because they're putting it off far enough that they can come up with an excuse in the meantime not to come to the gym. I didn't want to fall into that trap. So I said, nope, I'm going to be out tonight for the evening class. So I went out, got absolutely annihilated. Just got the crap beat out of me by guys that were a half my strength, half my size, had never been a professional athlete. They just were good grapplers. And I said, well, there's something about this, obviously. So the next morning class they had, I was there bright and early, ready to learn jiu-jitsu. Over this year, it has really become a new passion of mine. I held off grappling for a long time, and the reason for that is I kind of had this, well, if everybody likes it must be a fad. I don't want to do it. And I do that with a lot of things. It's a personality flaw. But now that I'm into it, I understand why people get so passionate about it and excited about it and obsessed with it, because I am. The work I do, I go primarily to the morning classes when I train. There's a difference. So my instructor is Paul Jordan for the vast majority of my training. So Paul is I think he's a 4th or 5th degree black belt in judo, and Masters national champion at one time. So he's also a brown belt, one stripe brown belt in jiu-jitsu. It's a pretty deadly combination. In the evening classes, Ehrlich is the black belt in jiu-jitsu and a brown belt in judo. So you're getting both levels. What I actually like, I tell people, I don't necessarily tell people I do jiu-jitsu. I tell them I'm in grappling. And the reason for that is because Paul's way of teaching is a very, it's based a lot, not just on jiu-jitsu, but judo as well. And he's got some good wrestling background. And it fits with my style and my body type. And, you know, I'm never going to be one of these guys who can get inverted or do rubber guard or stuff. But the style of training he shows works really well for me. I can get heavy on people. I can find good positions. I can use my grips. I can use my strength a little bit. And it works really well for me. I enjoy it. I am slowly moving up the ranks, and it's just been really good for me. And it's got me involved in this sport and meeting new people in the grappling world. Some great people like Dante Leone and Kyle Cannell from Penn State Wrestling, as well as some people in the classes. The people in the classes are, as you would imagine of any community like this, are very welcoming. They're fantastic people. I have met some guys in these classes who are amazing athletes. And let me tell you, there's so much to learn with jiu-jitsu, and I enjoy going to the promotion ceremonies and seeing these guys get promoted. It's not just about me getting stripes. It's about watching these guys who come in, 30, 40-year-old guys who are in there nightly trying to get better at this, and they don't have any, you know, aspirations of going to, ADCCs or anything like that. They just want to get good at this, and they're passionate about it. It's so cool to watch. I love the gym. I love the people. Paul and Ulrich have a great program out there, and it's been a good thing for me. I am very thankful for that this year. And now once I got into grappling, that really started to change the way I looked at things, because I went in the first night and Ehrlich, who's 160 pounds, just beat me to death, and I thought I had decent cardio, and I thought I was pretty strong, but here was this guy able to just choke me out at will. I started to think about how my training needed to evolve a little bit, and once I got on that bandwagon, everything started to change. So I am a big believer in the strongman events for grappling. I'm becoming more and more convinced of their just immense use for athletics in general. So I started to really delve into strongman events and how to put them in training protocols, and how they could be used to train athletes of all kinds. And it's the point now where when I do programming for the gym, I'll go through the program for the week, and then I go back and I look for places where there's barbells, and I swap them out for strongman events. Or I'll look for places where we have dumbbells, and I swap them out for kettlebells. And I think kettlebells have become a big staple in our program as well. Our gym motto is making people more formidable. And as a guy who was primarily doing a conjugate split, where I was focusing on strength and power only, I wasn't very formidable. I learned that night that all the strength in the world isn't going to help you if a situation lasts more than a couple minutes. So I began to change my training around. There's still and always will be a huge focus on strength. And I'm watching our people, and I'm watching when we do go for record lifts to make sure their PRs are still going up. In the vast majority of the gym, every time we do that, the PRs go up. But it's now a matter of not only are their PRs going up, but they're looking better. They're feeling better. They're moving better. They're going longer. All the things that make you formidable are in there now, and the program will continue to evolve as I see fit. We'll use what works and throw out what doesn't. But talking to Aaron and looking at our next evolution of this gym when we eventually get down wherever we're going over the next 4 years or so, I'm not sure how many barbells will actually be in the new gym. It will be a majority of things in there will be stones and sandbags and kegs and tires and kettlebells, and it will be primitive. And I think that's the best way to go. It seems to be. I'm really enjoying the training and figuring out the training, and it just hasn't been done that often by strength coaches. And my philosophy now is changing drastically, and it's helped change my body over the year, and I'm seeing a lot of changes in the people in the gym, and I'm hoping they're enjoying it. They're tough workouts, they are brutal, but there are still some days where they come in where they're just lifting weights. So I try to mix it up as much as possible and give people breaks, and hopefully everybody's digging that out there. Speaking about moving, we did spend some time this year. So we love the Tampa area. So we're looking at a few places. We're looking at the Tampa area. We're looking at North Carolina, maybe like the Wilmington area. But we spent some time. We went down to St. Pete's in April, like I mentioned earlier, and just had a fantastic time. We got to see our good friends, the Lillas, while we were down there. I got to do a podcast with the Johnsons, Kibwe and Crystal Johnson. And, I'd met both of them before, but hadn't really spent a lot of time. And this was probably, 15 years ago or so. But we got to sit down and have a podcast with them. And they just became two of my new favorite people. And if you haven't heard that podcast, we did one with Crystal and Kibwe that was out in the spring. Go check that one out. Then we did one with just Crystal when we went back down at 4th of July. And that's a fantastic one as well. Just fantastic people. And it would be nice if we did move to the Tampa area. We have so many friends down there now. And it would be like coming home. And so we don't know where we're going next, but we did spend 2 vacations in St. Pete Beach this year, and we do love that area. Aaron was going on a girls' trip to Myrtle Beach with 2 friends from college in August. So she hadn't seen these 2 girls in a while. The one girl had just had a baby. The other one had just gotten married. So they decided they were going to take a long weekend in Myrtle Beach and just catch up. So we were sitting on the couch one day, and Aaron said, well, what are you going to do the whole time I'm gone in Myrtle Beach? And I sat there and I thought for a second, and I go, you know what? I think I'm going to go to Key West. So for those of you who know me, you know my love for Key West. So the next week, booked a plane ticket and a spot at Olivia by Duval, which is the bed and breakfast I always stay at when I'm down there, and decided to take the trip down. So a little bit about that trip. I called it a spiritual pilgrimage. It was a chance for me to go down and just walk the streets of Key West and enjoy myself for a few days, and do some podcasts. So my hope was that I would get to talk and meet with some conks down there and just see where it went. So I arrived in Key West about an hour and a half after I arrived. I had a podcast scheduled with John Holster. John is the bartender at the Chart Room Bar and Grill, Chart Room Bar, just Chart Room Bar in the Pier House Resort in Key West. For those of you who've never been to the Chart Room and you have been to Key West, you got to check out the Chart Room. There's so much history involved in that bar, and it's one of my favorite places to go. And being the bartender at the Chart Room is a big deal because you're not just pouring drinks. You need to know the regulars who come in, and you need to know the history of the bar, which is amazing, and all the people who've come and drank there over the years, from celebrities to statesmen, and scoundrels and smugglers and everybody else. And John is a major student of that history and can tell stories like you wouldn't believe. So I got him on the podcast. We told some stories. John's also a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so that was fun. We talked a little fight talk. But you can follow that podcast. And if you are in Key West or going to Key West, head down to the Pier House Resort, go through the lobby, head over to the Chart Room Bar, and tell John I said hi. And he'll take care of you, I'm sure. We also met with the grandson of Mel Fisher. So Mel Fisher is also his name. Mel Fisher has always been a hero of mine. Mel Fisher was the guy who found the Margareta and the Atocha, who were Spanish galleons that sank in a hurricane in the 1600s. He found $500 million in Spanish treasure, and they're still pulling up treasure off the quicksands off Key West. And I got to talk to his grandson Mel, who is a great human, and got to drink with him a little bit at the Chart Room, and then go over to the Sunset Celebration with him and his friends. Just an amazing experience. If you haven't, speaking of the Sunset Celebration, that's where I proposed to my beautiful wife. When you're in Key West, every night, without fail, crowds gather at the end of Mallory Square to watch a sunset, and people just hang out. There's vendors and street performers, and they just hang out and watch the sunset. And when it sets, everybody cheers. It's a beautiful thing that people take time out of their day to go watch the sunset. And Mel lives in Key West, and was going down there probably like he does all the time. It's something to see. Key West has such a special place in my heart. It's a place where diversity, and I know that's kind of a buzzword, but just everybody's accepted. It's the only place I know in the world that I've ever seen where there are signs proudly displayed in the windows that say gay-owned establishment. And if you can go to an island like that, and that's not only a sense of pride for these people, it's a calling card, and it's a advertisement to get people in the door. I think that's a great thing. And you can walk into any bar in Key West, and no matter what you look like or what you're wearing or who you are, you're accepted. And as long as you're not a dick, people love you. And it's my favorite place on the planet. I go there every chance I get. We're heading back down there at the end of January, and I could not be happier to show my brother-in-law and his fiance Key West, even if for a short time. So after doing the podcast with Mel and John, I did a podcast with Quincy Perkins, and I didn't know anything about Quincy Perkins other than the fact that another guy I was doing a podcast with, David, told me, hey, you got to meet Quincy Perkins. So we sat down at a rum bar on Duval Street and had the most amazing conversation. This guy has done everything and has been through incredible adventures. That is a highly recommended podcast if you want to go back and check that one out. Quincy Perkins, another guy who is going to be a longtime friend and person I visit when I go to the island. Just an amazing conch, an amazing character, and he's got some films out there that are well worth checking out. So check out that podcast and check out Quincy Perkins. Finally, I had a podcast with David Sloan, who had started this whole ball off with. He was the first guy I scheduled. David Sloan is the owner of the Key West Ghost Tours. He is also the Key West writer, and if you go to bookstores like in airports down in Key West, his books are everywhere. He's wrote a ton of books. We had a great conversation about life in the Keys and writing and just life in general and ghosts, and because he does the ghost tours, and that was a great conversation. So another one you should definitely check out. But now I have these friends in Key West that are just fantastic people, and I plan on catching up with them every chance I get. And it's a great feeling to know that you have people that you really, really love in a place that you really, really love. And that adds to the history that I love, and the bars that I love, and the food that I love, and the nature that I love down there. So it's all good, just making that island better and better. My plan is, hopefully for next year, is to run the Key West Half Marathon. So I'll be back then as well. So speaking of guests on the show, this year was huge. We had early in the year, we had Dave Tate on. We had Dante Leone, now World Jiu-Jitsu No-Gi champion. We had Reggie Jaggers on, probably the best discus thrower in the country. We had Sean Donnelly on. Him and Kibwe are probably the two best hammer throwers in the country. So, we had the two best hammer throwers on. We had Rick Perello came on for his second interview with us. Rick wrote the book To Kill the Irishman, which is now on Netflix, not to be confused with The Irishman. And then all the guys down in Key West. And then we had Judd on. So Judd Logan, I always say, gets more airtime on this program than I do. So Judd was my mentor, and Judd has had this amazing, dreadful, wonderful year where he's finally won 2 national championships, both indoor and outdoor, with these amazing performances by his athletes, these clutch performances to win this national championship. And in the meantime, he's diagnosed with cancer, and he's having to deal with that and having to try to keep it from the team at first, because it was right before the first nationals. And the story is just out of this world. It's a movie in the making, and that podcast was emotional, and it was amazing. And his web touches so many people. So when the news came out that he had been diagnosed with cancer, everybody there was such an outpouring of well wishes and support, and everybody just knew that if anyone was going to beat this, he was. And knock on wood, it seems to be that he's kicking cancer's ass and doing really well, and reloading again for another incredible track season down there. So all the best to him and his family, and that was a great podcast. You should definitely check out. Coming to the end of the summer, Hayden started his freshman year, so now I am dealing with this strange occurrence that a lot of you guys have probably dealt with out there, where I'm dealing with football and track coaches who always have the best interest of the athlete at heart, not necessarily always have the best knowledge base, and that's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, and as you guys know, because I have this show, that I'm a big mouth, so I tend to fight with that a little bit. He played varsity football as a freshman. I wasn't too thrilled about that. 160-pound kid playing middle linebacker on the varsity level is a little scary, especially when you go from 8th grade football to Friday Night Lights in 1 year. He did really well. He ended up getting, I think, all-conference academic, which to me is better than any athletic performance he could have got. Started all 10 games, did fantastic, had some big hits and big plays, and made it through the season uninjured, which was the number one thing I was concerned with. He is now going into his freshman year of track season, so we're making some adjustments there. Obviously, just like all these coaches, they want your kid there to do their training and their lifting and all that stuff. That's a little bit difficult, and we're dealing with those situations, and we'll see how they go from time to time. And I'll do my best to keep myself on an even keel and not open my mouth too much, because I tend to just make it harder on him. And the coaches, they don't care. They're just doing their thing. And so that's where we are with that. So looking forward to indoor track season. The goal is for him to make indoor states in the weight. And he's got some great coaching. He spent some time with Kibwe learning the weight, and he'll go to the Ashland camp this year, and Zach Pape works with him as well. So he's coming along just fine in the weight, and looking forward to watching it. I don't care how far he throws. I'm just enjoying watching him throw, which is the big part for me. So, speaking of Ashland and throwing and everything, I got invited way earlier in the year by Malcolm Majeski to come and speak at the Ashland Strength and Conditioning Seminar, which was a huge honor, just to be asked to do that. He wanted me to speak on using the strongman events for athletes and fitness, which is obviously right up my alley. So we put together a presentation. When I got to the conference, it morphed a little bit because I started to look out into the audience and see what we were dealing with. And we were dealing with a lot of wannabe, not like they're, but kids that will go on to be strength coaches, young kids, college kids. And I started to think about what they needed to hear. And most of them are CSCSs. They're going to be CSCSs. Most of them come from athletic backgrounds, college athletics or high school athletics. They probably know a lot of information. But what I spoke a little bit about after the strongman training was things that they need as young strength coaches. They need to be aware of things like discipline and being on time and having a good work ethic. And it's not all about the programming. It's how you deal with people and how you deal with situations, and just having that discipline that if you say the class starts at 6 a.m., you're there at least 15 minutes early, have the doors open, and don't be the guy who shows up late, or don't be the guy who misses a class because you overslept. You should be able to wake up early enough that even if a meteor strikes the planet, you're still going to get to that gym 15 minutes early to open up the doors for everybody. And that's super important. And it's something that's a lot of times overlooked. And I'm guessing it's overlooked completely because it's not a necessary part of becoming a strength coach. I'm sure it's overlooked at the academic level. But part of the good thing about this podcast is I can be a mentor for people who are young and coming up, and that's not through any kind of awesomeness of my own. It's through making so many mistakes over the years and just hoping to learn from them and pass on those mistakes to other people so they can learn from them. And that might be the best message I can pass on to people is just do all the right things, be disciplined, be on time, have a good work ethic. All those things are super important, and they're more important than what program you decide to put them on. Do the right thing, be good at your job. That same day, so I spoke at the seminar at 11, got done about 12:15, and then had to make my way back to the other gym where I train grappling to do an open mat and a promotion ceremony where they promoted me to my 3rd stripe, 4 stripes, and then you move up to blue belt. So that was a big honor. And you're waiting in line to see if you get promoted, and some people don't get promoted. And I was fully ready for that, to not get promoted, because you don't always get promoted. But I did, and I was super grateful for that and appreciative for all the coaches and other guys I'm working with in the gym, because you learn from all these guys whether you win or lose. And I was so psyched for that 3rd stripe, that 3rd piece of athletic tape on your belt, and now I'm driving towards that 4th stripe, and it's really cool. On a sadder note, right before Thanksgiving, my Uncle Chuck passed. And it was a weird thing because I hadn't seen my Uncle Chuck in a long time. But when family members pass, you suck it up and you make changes your schedule, and you go there and be with family. So we made the trip back to Erie, Pennsylvania, where all my family's from, and Aaron took off work, and we went there, and it was kind of a whirlwind trip. We got there in the morning for the funeral. It's really weird, man. Catholic, I grew up Catholic, and not to offend any other Catholics out there, but the Catholic service for funerals is basically an hour-long infomercial for Jesus and the Catholic Church, and then they say a little bit about the deceased, which I would have liked to have heard more about my Uncle Chuck. The best part of the service, if there can ever be a good part about the service, was listening to my cousins Terry and Tina talk about their father, and what a cool guy he was. And you never got to see that. I was too young when I left Erie to really have gotten to know any of my uncles that well, and it was good. It was good to hear all those things about him, and to see the effect he had on people. And he was a big wig in the union, and he was that was his passion, was the union, and helping people, and helping guys in the union, and he had a lot of his union friends there. Aaron said it looked like a reunion from Goodfellas, which it did. My father's side of the family are small Sicilian people, so that's the way that works. And it was wonderful. He was his last name was Piano, and it was fun to see all these people with this pride in their name, that they came out with their piano scarves on, and piano belt buckles, and piano pins on their jackets. And later we went to the wake, which was more of a celebration, and that was really nice. While we were in Erie, we also went and saw the last of my uncles, Uncle Jim. He is in a nursing home right now. We're actually going out on Sunday to interview him for the podcast. For those of you who don't know, the original Refined Savage shirt with the man on the back with the handlebar mustache and the hat is based off a picture of my Uncle Jim that was hanging in his house growing up, and I described it to the artist, Ad Gonis, who does our shirts, and she was able, through a description, to pretty much replicate the shirt. So I thought it might be good to go out and interview the guy who was a driving force behind that shirt, and that people seem to really love. And we're going to listen to some stories about that I probably have never heard, about my mother and my other Uncle Butch, who you guys have heard me talk about on the show before, and old school Erie, Pennsylvania, and what it was like growing up, and his military career. So we're going to ask him some questions, and I'm going to try to make it a shorter one. He is in his 80s and in a nursing home, so I don't want to exhaust him. So look forward to that coming up, and we'll let you know. While we were there, speaking of my Uncle Butch, we went and stopped by my Aunt Sam's house, who's his widow, and picked up a piece of his artwork. I remember as a kid him having this tremendous artwork all over the house that he had done, and I asked her for anything he had left that my cousins didn't already have in their homes, and she pulled out this incredible etching he had done of an eagle from the company he worked at, was Amsco, and in Erie, Pennsylvania. And my father worked there. He worked there. My Uncle Chuck worked there. So it was a part of my family, and it was on a piece of Amsco steel. So on my mantle now I have this piece of steel from a company where three members of my family worked, and that he had done this incredible eagle etching on. And that's something I'll cherish and pass down to my son at some point. And it was very cool. So that was our trips to Erie for the funeral, but then seeing the family and everything. I've been talking to Aaron for the last few months about this time of year and Christmas, and I'm just psyched that it's one of my favorite times of the year. I just love it. I love winter right up until New Year's Day, and then I'm done with it. But this time of year where you can actually just be around family and be around people and show some goodwill, and you wish you could take that feeling all throughout the year, but it's nice to enjoy it while it's here. And it is the most wonderful time of the year, and I'm excited for Christmas 2019, and just being around family again is a good thing. What else happened in what else happened in 2019 is I decided that I wanted to start working with more tactical athletes. I used to work primarily with high school, junior high, college athletes. And we do have a lot of them now in the gym. Our young athlete class, we call the Agogi, is just bursting. And I have Zach do most of the work with that. I consult him, but he does most of the programming and most of the coaching, and he's doing a fantastic job with that. My focus was I think that this style of training that we're doing in the gym is going to be great for tactical people. I am a big fan of tactical athletes. I think we fit together really well, and these are people who are looking for training to be better at their jobs. And I think these are super important jobs, and it's super important you be fit and strong and healthy in these jobs. And it's a way for me to kind of give back to that population. So I went and got my NSCA cert. I got the TSAC cert, Tactical Strength and Conditioning Facilitator. Kind of funny, I got all the textbook and the practice exams and everything, and I was starting to study. And then Malcolm Majeski at Ashland called me about the cert again. He said, "Hey, did you ever get that TSAC cert?" I said, "Well, I'm starting to study for it." And he said, "Well, I kind of already told the NSCA that you were certified in it, and in order for us to all get CEUs, you're going to have to get your certification before the seminar." So that was like 3 months away from the seminar. Put a little pressure on me, which I needed. So I immediately signed up for the test, studied a lot, something I hadn't done in years, and ended up passing the test. So that was a big change for this year, that I've gone in this new direction and got this TSAC cert, and I'm super proud of it. And I look forward to working with more tactical athletes and police, fire, military, EMS, corrections, and get those people on the right path. Those are all super important jobs, and it's super important. You need to be strong. You need to be in shape. You need to be healthy. Not just for you, but so you go home and to your families, and that your partners get to go home to your family. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to go with the training for that. A little bit else about the gym this year. My goals for 2020 is just to become a better coach through dealing with people. I need to, and I'm really becoming more mindful of dealing with people and dealing with their emotional statuses and their issues and problems and anxieties, and all that stuff's important. I'm not training the Bulgarian weightlifting team. These are moms and dads and kids that may not necessarily have ever done anything athletic in their lives, and I need to do a better job of switching gears and being more empathetic to them and sensitive to their needs without pulling back on the throttle. So knowing when to give them what they need as opposed to what they want, but also being more empathetic and looking for ways to work around things that either scare them or that really bother them. And that's one of my major goals for 2020, is just to become a better coach in that manner. And I've really started to implement that. All right. I also need to compliment people more when they're doing well. And I'm trying to do that as well. So more of that in 2020. So for the people in the gym, just stand by. I am a work in progress, and I'm doing the best I can, and will continue to do that. I always want more people in the gym. We live in an area that is not heavily populated, but I think you have a gem here. I think you have a way to get in shape and get healthy, and it's an easy plan to follow. Come to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. In 90 days, you're going to feel really good. In a year, you're going to just be amazing. You're going to look back at yourself in a year and just go, God, look how far I've come. That's not bragging. That's just something I've seen over the years, and I understand the path. So I want to get more of you in here, more of you healthy, more of you working, more of you moving. We're playing with the idea of a 24-hour facility and making it into a key club. That may happen. I don't know. We'll always still have the classes, but some people just can't get here by, 7 o'clock at night for the last class. So we may look at opening that up after hours and letting people do some of their own training, or do the training from that day. That might be coming. So we're discussing it. We're looking at options and insurance and all that stuff. So that might be coming soon. As far as the podcast, we, as you've noticed, we do all in-person interviews. That's going to continue. I have people all the time tell me, "Oh, you need to get so-and-so on the podcast." Well, he lives in California. Well, you could just call him or Skype call him. No, that's never going to happen. That's never going to be a part of this show. I am a connoisseur of podcasts, and those are almost never good interviews when you're calling someone or doing a Skype interview. Sorry, guys, it just aren't. They don't sound good. There's a delay. You hear people who have really good personalities, and their personalities go to shit when they're on those calls because there's something lost in the translation. The other thing about it that I like is the fact that in a person-to-person interview, I become friends with these people. I build a relationship with these people that you don't build on the phone. I shake their hand. They sign my desk. Their phone numbers go into my phone, and if I want to wish them a Merry Christmas, I can do that. This is a way for me to make connections with people, amazing people. I get to have conversations with these incredible people with incredible stories that I'm really interested in, and I want more of those people in my life, and that is the driving force behind the podcast right now, and probably always will be. So more of that. Look, guys, we are working hard. You've got 2 meatheads here trying to figure out sound quality and things like that. So we are really working hard on the sound quality. I think we found some things that we figured out, and you'll notice it, hopefully, with the Derek Woodsky podcast. Yes, we just sat down with Derek Woodsky. That was an amazing conversation. You should notice it with that one, starting with that one. Just little technical things. We're two guys who are meatheads are trying to figure this stuff out. So just bear with us, and the sound quality is going to get better here soon. I think we've got most of the bugs worked out, so they should get better and better. And then starting with the Derek Woodsky one, I think we have it all set. So look forward to that. I want to do some more traveling. I need to make a trip down to North Carolina because there's a lot of people in North Carolina I want to speak to. I'd like to make a trip out to the West Coast. There's some people out there, and down to Austin. There's always a ton of people in Austin I'd like to talk to. But if you have suggestions for me, for people in the Ohio area, and I'm talking Indiana, Michigan, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Cincinnati, Kentucky area, that you know of or here in Ohio that would be good people for me to talk to, shoot them my way. I'll check them out, and if they interest me, I'll go talk to them. I'd love to get more input from you guys as to who you want to hear on this show. And if you like these talks where it's just me talking, let me know about that too, because we can do more of those too. I had someone come up with this idea for me to do this, and hopefully you liked it. I can talk on other subjects, and if that's what you like. If not, I'm more than happy to talk to amazing people every day. So we'll keep improving. Sponsors, again, thank you to all the sponsors, and you guys should please go and give them your support and your dollars, and they are really helping the show out a ton. The way for me to get to these other states to talk to people is through the sponsorship from these amazing companies. So give them a couple dollars and help us out. And they're all good people that are neck deep in this kind of lifestyle, and they're good people to support. We're looking for more sponsors. So if you're a sponsor out there, or if you know someone who might be interested in sponsoring this show, point them in my direction, or let me know and I'll get a hold of them. Sponsorship is, we don't ask for very much money at all, but every little bit helps. And I think it's a good deal. The sponsorship is for the podcast, but I spend a lot of time on social media trying to promote these guys as well. I just want them to do well. I want them to see how hard I'm working for them. And just like everything I do, that's super important to me. I want to thank the coaches here at the gym. It's been a rough year. Susan Van Wagenen's husband is dealing with some medical issues. She's a staple in our gym. It's nice to see her back finally training, and I'd love to get her back coaching soon. But everyone, Jessica has had a crazy year giving birth to a baby and coming back from that. Isaac and Eric have 17 kids apiece, and they're dealing with that. We have new coaches, Sarah, Zane, and James. They are all really, really doing well, and I'm very happy with how they're coming along. And like I've said before, Zach is invaluable and my right-hand man here at the gym. So thank you to all you guys. And, thanks to the listeners out there, the listeners, you guys have made this show. When I look at an episode and it's getting, in the thousands of listeners, that just amazes me. And when you're pulling in, 5 to 10,000 downloads a month, it's pretty awesome. It's humbling, and I could not be more grateful to the people out there who are listening and supporting the show. So thank you to the listeners. I love you guys. The guests, thank you to the guests. And finally, thank you to my family. My son Hayden, who puts up with all my craziness, and maybe most importantly, Erin, my wife, who I love dearly, who has to not only put up with all my nonsense, but become my coach, my physical therapist, my psychologist, all these things that she does. And one of my goals for this year is to become a better father and a better husband. And again, through just being more mindful and getting out of that, becoming less savage and more refined as far as that goes, to be able to keep my emotions more in check, to be more mindful, and just be a better human all around. It's a good thing to strive for, and it's a worthwhile project for 2020. So I'm going to close this down. This is the end of, I don't even know what you call these, the teens. And we're going into the 20s and a new decade. I'm excited to see what happens next. And I'm excited for where the gym's going. I'm excited for where the podcast is going. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep striving. We're going to keep pushing. And I want everybody out there to have an incredible Christmas. Spend some time. Eat what you want, guys. Take the day, put a pin in that fitness for a day and just, have fun and enjoy your life and drink that rum and eat that cookie and enjoy it. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the holiday. I love every one of you. I want you to take care. And this has been The Refined Savage. Merry Christmas.